In the week before my birthday, my husband kept smiling and saying, "This year's surprise will blow your mind." Every morning, he'd give me a kiss on the cheek before heading to work, look me in the eyes, and in the evenings, he'd order my favorite meals. He even told the kids to be extra nice to me until the weekend. After 17 years of marriage, it made me happy that he was still planning exciting surprises for me. The same thought kept running through my mind. Maybe he had planned a quiet vacation for us, or maybe he was going to do something I'd been putting off for a while, or maybe he had just planned a warm family day. Whatever it was, when I woke up early in the morning, I found myself in the middle of silence. The house was completely quiet. There were no kids arguing, no smell of coffee coming from the kitchen, and no quiet phone conversations from my husband. Just silence. I turned over to the other side of the bed. His pillow was flat, and the blanket was neatly folded. I wasn't surprised that he had gotten up at that hour, but it was strange that the kids weren't home either. I always had to drag them out of bed every morning, especially on my birthday, for them to wake up so early. It was odd. I went into the hallway and checked their rooms. The beds were perfectly made, the closet doors were ajar, and their shoes were missing. My heart started to race a little. When I saw that the breakfast items from yesterday were still untouched in the kitchen, I sat down and stared at the empty kitchen for a long time. My hand moved almost involuntarily to my phone. No message, no explanation, not even a little note. Just silence. That was until I saw a post pop up on social media. I stared at the screen. There they were. A dad and two kids laughing, posing by an infinity pool in a dazzling place. The caption underneath it was the first sentence that pierced my heart. "Our dad took us on vacation because our mom is boring." In that moment, it felt like all the sounds in the world stopped and all the colors faded. There was no expression left on my face, no thoughts to explain. I just froze. I held onto my phone tightly so it wouldn't fall. One question echoed in my mind. Could he really have done this? For hours, I couldn't move from where I sat. My kids' laughter, my husband's toast, the proud sharing of boarding passes. All of these were being celebrated without me, on a day that was supposed to belong to me, on my birthday, while I sat at home alone. But then something changed. A feeling of determination rose from the silence, filling me. I stood up. This story wasn't going to end like this. After the initial shock passed, I started quietly walking through the rooms. It felt like every corner was staring at me, every object was whispering what had happened. My eyes caught the family photos in the living room. One from last year's vacation, where we were all smiling under the sun. Right in the center of the photo was Henrik, with his arm around my shoulder, looking at the camera with the kids. It hit me how fake the happiness I thought I had back then looked on my face. I took my hand to the glass of the photo frame, my fingers trembling. I stepped back, and suddenly Henrik's home office came to my mind. When I stepped inside, the arrangement surprised me. Everything looked the way it should, but at the same time, nothing felt right. It was like that room was excluding me too. Henrik usually did his work in that room, especially on Thursday nights, when he'd lock himself in with the excuse of, quote, preparing reports. Over the years, I'd gotten used to leaving him alone during those times. I was wrong. When I bent down under the desk, a small box that I had never noticed before caught my attention. The drawer was locked, but I knew where the key was. The spare key was taped to the back of the chair in a small black box. With trembling hands, I opened the drawer and realized just how long Henrik had been living not with me, but with another life. Inside, there were hidden documents. Credit card statements, ticket confirmations, and a travel plan for 3 people. Yes, this vacation had definitely been planned in advance. Tickets bought a month ago, luxury accommodations, restaurant reservations. And one name appeared over and over again, Sophie Berger. Henrik's assistant, the young woman who joined family events with her dazzling smile, calling me sis. At first, I thought she was just a hard-working employee. Turns out, the only thing she worked on was finding the shortcut to Henrik's heart. But the real blow came with a second phone at the bottom of the box. Apparently, Henrik had created a quote, 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 for this life he was living without me. No password. Maybe he'd been in a hurry or never thought I'd catch him. When I unlocked the screen, the messages that appeared pierced my heart. We're leaving early tomorrow morning. She still hasn't figured it out. The kids are ready. I think it'll be a nice surprise for her. You wouldn't believe how easy it was. I read line by line. Every word was tearing apart another layer of my 17-year marriage. But what stung the most was the photo Henrik had sent to Sophie, not to me. It was of our kids having breakfast with Sophie. I should have been at that breakfast table. The kids, who I used to warm milk for, comb their hair, and get ready for school, were now sharing their smiles with another woman. A pain I couldn't put into words rose within me, but I didn't shed a tear. At that moment, I needed not tears, but to gather evidence and make a plan. I thought of the security system at Henrik's company. I had suggested their digital monitoring systems in the past. We had even discussed camera placements in the office with the security consultants. Back then, I was the supportive wife of his successes. But now, that very system was my strongest tool to bring him down. I grabbed my phone and contacted someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Eric Neumann, the company's IT manager. He had once asked me to give a seminar at our school for his daughter, and I had helped. When I called, he immediately recognized my voice. "Lena, what a surprise!" "How are you?" he asked. "Eric, I need a little favor. It might sound strange," I said, keeping my voice as steady as possible. "I need access to the camera footage from Henrik's office. Just from the last 4 Thursday nights." There was a brief silence. Eric's voice softened. "I don't know what's going on, but if I can help, trust me." That night, before opening the encrypted link he sent me, I put my phone on silent and went through the old messages from the kids. No, "Happy birthday, Mom" messages. Just that silence. But this time, silence was on my side. Because in that moment, I knew. Henrik's perfect world was about to come crashing down with the evidence in my hands, and he would never see it coming. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen all night. The link Eric sent me, related to the security system, required access to the company's internal network, but when I opened it through the encrypted link, the interface was eerily familiar. I could choose the date and time to view the camera footage. Since I was familiar with the office layout, I immediately located the camera that watched Henrik's corner office. With trembling fingers, I loaded the recordings from the last 4 Thursdays after 7 p.m. Each one revealed how a dream shared with me was slowly being rebuilt with someone else. The first recording. Henrik was at his desk, papers in front of him, city lights in the background. Everything seemed normal, until the door opened without a knock. Sophie walked in, holding 2 glasses, smiling. I couldn't hear their conversation, but their body language was crystal clear. As they leaned in, Henrik's hand reaching for her waist, it was like that office had become their private space. The camera then showed them sitting together on the couch, laughing, their hands overlapping while they looked at documents. Then, they kissed. And at that moment, another veil was torn in my mind. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was the quiet continuation of a lie that had become a habit. The second Thursday. Same time, same seats, same glasses. This time, the camera had a clearer shot of Sophie's necklace. I remembered seeing that necklace in Henrik's credit card statements. It had been listed as luxury boutique, but I hadn't asked. Now I knew who it adorned. The third recording, another blow. This time, Sophie came to Henrik with a small box in her hand. The bracelet inside it represented the surprise I had been expecting on my birthday. Henrik's eyes lit up when he opened the box, laughing with her, with not a hint of me anywhere. At that moment, I was at home, sorting the kids' laundry, wondering what to cook for dinner. The fourth and final Thursday, the night of the full-blown preparation for disaster. In the video, Sophie was talking about flight tickets. Her lips were moving, but I could easily read the word that slipped from her mouth. Tomorrow, just 1 day before me. The kids were excited, clearly, as Henrik was filming a video, talking about the vacation suitcases being packed. During this, Sophie showed her phone to Henrik on Instagram photo of them together by the pool, their feet in the water, with the yellow sun on their shoulders. The caption, "Ready for the surprise adventure." Not a word about my birthday. I wasn't anywhere. I was erased. After watching all the videos, the anger inside me turned into a silence. This wasn't a resignation silence. It was the calm before the storm. Sitting in front of the screen, I was tearing apart the role Henrik had assigned me, building my own plan. I wasn't crying anymore. My heart didn't hurt anymore. I was just focused. I organized the evidence. I created short clips of the most striking moments from the footage. I transferred the credit card statements into digital files, highlighting the gifts for Sophie and the luxury restaurant receipts. I took screenshots of the burner phone messages, marking the most shocking sentences in red. Then I opened a new file, Needed Justice. This was the file of my rebirth, but I didn't want to hit Henrik personally only. He valued his work, his position, his title above everything else. Reputation was everything to him, so my plan wasn't aimed at his heart. It was targeting his nerve center. I prepared an email to the company's board, especially the person who chaired the disciplinary committee. There was no insult or emotion in it, just documents, timestamps, and excerpts from the company's own policies. Managers cannot have romantic relationships with subordinates. This is considered an ethical violation and grounds for dismissal. Points, paragraphs, dated videos. Everything was there. But I didn't send it. Not yet. It had to wait. Because at 9 a.m. on Monday, the executives would be in their weekly review meeting. During the meeting, everyone's phones would be on silent. So I was going to send the email at exactly 9 a.m., like a bomb ready to explode. I set up a tracking system. I'd get notifications when the email was opened and when the files were downloaded. I woke up early. I washed my face, tied my hair back. I looked in the mirror. The woman I knew was still there, but her eyes were clearer than before. At 8:59 a.m., I placed my fingers on the keyboard. When I hit send, my hand didn't shake. The notification came a few seconds later. Email successfully delivered. Then another one. Opened. And one more. Attachments downloaded. At exactly 9:41, I received a short message from Eric. Security has been directed to Henrik's office. Henrik's seemingly perfect life was about to be shattered right at his favorite place, his office door. Meanwhile, I moved to the kitchen and started making my coffee. I looked out the window. The fresh spring sun was shining on my garden. The feeling inside me was no longer loneliness. In the silence that belonged to me, I could hear the echo of my own power. And this was just the beginning. Henrik's panic was almost working like a clock. Just 35 minutes after I sent the email, my phone started vibrating. His name flashed on the call screen. This scene repeated itself over and over in the next hour. I ignored the first call. The second one, too. After the third, I put my phone on the table and just started watching. As time went on, the calls kept growing like an avalanche. 30, 40, 50, 80. Each one made his loss of control more and more visible. And each one reminded me of how strong I was standing. By noon, messages from the kids started coming through. A short but confused message from Emma. "Mom, Dad's acting crazy. What happened?" And a line from Jake that made my heart ache but also reinforced my rightness. "Mom, we didn't want to upset you, but Dad said he had everything under control." I didn't reply. Not yet. They needed to face the truth too. My silence wasn't a punishment anymore. It was the calm before an explanation. Because now, not just Henrik, but my children also needed to know the truth. They had to recognize the manipulation behind what they had been living. Throughout the day, Henrik's calls merged with countless WhatsApp messages, each one with a different tone, a new plea. "Please, Lena, I made a mistake, but we can fix everything. For the kids, please answer. My access has been cut off. You've ruined me." It was the last sentence that stopped me. Because finally, he realized what I had done. I hadn't just exposed his betrayal, I had buried him under the walls he built with his own arrogance. This was the collapse he wrote with his own hands. I had just opened the curtain. As the evening came, I sensed they were returning with the kids. The social media stories were telling everything. The clues in Emma's Instagram, the photo of the suitcases, the blurry airport shot Jake shared. All of them were pieces of their journey home. It was just a matter of time now. And I was ready. That night, I sat alone on the porch, a file full of suppressed evidence in my hand, the new key to the door lock beside me. The air had cooled, and the silence carried by the wind now represented control, not loneliness. I wasn't waiting. I was just preparing to greet them. When the headlights lit up the street, it was almost 9:45 p.m. 3 people got out of the car. Henrik saw me first, the expression on his face. Panic, anger, confusion. But underneath it all, there was something else. Fear. The kids were a bit behind. Emma was holding her shoulder bag tightly, and Jake was looking away. Henrik walked towards the stairs and whispered harshly, "Don't do this here. Please, not in front of the kids." Without interrupting him, I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "It's going to happen here, because everything started here, and now nothing is hidden." Emma stepped forward, her face full of conflicting expressions. "Mom, why didn't you answer? Dad said this was an emergency." I lowered my head and smiled slightly, but my eyes were serious. "There was an emergency, yes, but not the way you think. The real truth starts now." Jake was silent. As usual, he was observing. His eyes seemed to understand something. Maybe he had known from the very beginning. Henrik tried to interrupt again. "Let's go inside and talk. I don't deserve this." My answer was clear. "The only ones going inside are the kids. Your things are in the garage, in boxes." Henrik's face turned pale. "You can't do this to me." "This house is mine, Lena," I said, emphasizing the words. "It has my name on it, and your place in this story is over." I turned to the kids. I took out a page from the file, an open shot of Henrik and Sophie in the office. Emma's eyes widened. Jake turned his back. In an instant, everything. The luxury vacation, the laughter by the pool, their controlled plan, started to make sense to them as part of a deception. "Mom, is this real?" Emma's voice was fragile and uncertain. "Yes, and it's part of a plan that included my mom's boring note you shared. Ignoring your mother, turning her birthday into an excuse." Emma shivered. "Dad said that he thought it would be funny." Her eyes filled with tears. Jake slowly walked toward the door. "I just want to be with you, Mom," he said quietly. "That vacation wasn't fun at all." I handed him the key, and Jake opened the door. Emma followed him. As they entered, the door slowly closed behind them, leaving Henrik outside. That night, something inside me was completed. A journey had started, but now I wasn't alone on that path. With me, there was a truth that belonged to me, a life rebuilt with my children and my own steps. And this reckoning wasn't over, because there was an official ending waiting ahead. With Henrik left standing outside the door, I felt the silent closing of a chapter. That night, as I wandered through the house, I realized everything was in its place, but nothing was the same as before. The kids had retreated to their rooms, hiding in the safe shadow of silence. I stood in the middle of the living room, once again listening to the emptiness that used to echo with Henrik's voice. But now, those emptinesses whispered not fear or lack, but determination and freedom. Throughout the night, not a single moment of regret or doubt passed through me. Every step was light, not heavy with decisions that had been planned, but with a sense of ease. I might have been broken, but I wasn't shattered. And now, with my own hands, I was piecing those fragments back together. This time, for myself. The next morning, I set off to meet my lawyer, Miriam. We hadn't seen each other in a while, but when she saw me, there was both surprise and admiration in her eyes. "I know I should have told you this," she said seriously. "Henrik's prenup, the one he signed, is going to be his worst nightmare now." When Miriam laid out the documents, every line of the prenuptial agreement Henrik had almost contemptuously signed years ago, now shone as proof of Lena's patience and intelligence. Especially Article 3. If infidelity occurred during the marriage, the property division agreement would be rendered invalid. But that wasn't all. Henrik's use of company resources for his personal relationship, financing luxury expenses through the family account, and the financial support provided to Sophie. All of these created strong foundations that would protect not only Lena's interests during the divorce, but also the security and future of her children. Henrik had hastily found his lawyer. When he showed up for the first meeting, the confident expression that had once been his trademark had already disappeared. His clothes were still expensive, but they didn't fit him anymore. His shoulders were slumped, his voice was shaky, and every word he spoke echoed a late apology. "Lena, I made a mistake," he whispered. "We can fix this." I didn't say anything. Miriam spoke. When she placed the documents, photos, account statements, and security footage in front of him, Henrik's face first turned red, then white. Finally, I noticed something. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes, not because I had left him, but because he was now facing defeat at the hands of a woman he no longer recognized. He had never imagined that the wife he thought had faded in the shadow of his ego could destroy the game with a single move, and that was his last mistake. The divorce protocol was quickly prepared. The majority of the house and assets remained with Lena. Custody of the children was granted to Lena. Henrik was allowed only limited and supervised visitation rights. No compensation, no alimony. Lena didn't ask for any personal wealth. What she wanted was simply peace and the control to be back in her hands. "I don't need your money. I need my peace," she had told Miriam. "And peace begins by not living in the shadow of a man who doesn't belong in my life." After all the official proceedings were completed, Lena began to build a new life. She donated some of the old furniture, replaced others. She planted flowers in the garden with her own hands. Every morning, as she sat at the breakfast table with the kids, silence wasn't silence anymore. It was the melody of new beginnings. Jake, as usual, hugged her a little tighter, and Emma, day by day, noticed something new when she looked at her mother. Lena was no longer just mom, but a woman who lived for herself, a woman who knew her worth. Lena decided to return to the profession she had abandoned years ago. She contacted her old colleagues and completed the necessary certifications. And one day, she was presented with an opportunity, almost ironically handed to her by life. After the recent ethical scandal at Henrik's company, the board decided to create a new, quote, compliance and ethics department. The person who made the offer was Henrik's former manager. "We know you, Ms. Lena," he said gently. "We believe you could be someone who many women, not just this company, could look up to." Lena smiled at first, then nodded kindly. She accepted. Months passed. Lena became not only a leader developing new company policies, but also a mentor to young women employees. She had gone through a system that wanted to silence her and emerged as a voice at its highest level. Her story was no longer told in whispers, but with respect. Henrik, meanwhile, silently watched his name fade between the old files in the city he had moved to. Lena had become, for him, not just a memory, but a turning point. And no apology could change that. A year later, Lena's 41st birthday came. This time, on the breakfast tray, there were handwritten notes from her kids. Jake had made a card decorated with flowers, and Emma was trying to bake her favorite cake, though it was a bit burnt. In the living room, there was a banner made from colorful paper. "Happy day you started again." Lena didn't break down in tears, because now tears had been replaced with smiles. She went outside and saw that the roses she had planted with her own hands had bloomed. When the kids came over, she embraced them. "I was reborn," Lena said, "but this time, you're growing with me." The sky was clear, the air calm. And Lena now knew, where everything had collapsed, if you have the courage, you can build a stronger life. If you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the video a thumbs up. You can also turn on notifications to stay updated on new stories. To support our channel, you can use the Join button. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.